You're listening to an Anderson Entertainment production.
This episode,
we're feeling A-maize-ing in FAB Facts.
We're taking a calculated risk of the first magnitude in the Randomiser.
and we're toasting everything that was with Andrew E.C. Gaska.
Cool. That's all coming up in Pod 248
of the G.A. Gerry Anderson podcast.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's get started. Let's go.
Spectrum is green.
The Gerry Anderson podcast with Jamie Anderson and Richard James.
Well, I see what you tried to do there.
Well,
Richard N. James.
That's it, yes, exactly. And Jamie L. Anderson.
And we'll later be joined by Christopher R. Dale.
Ah.
Yeah.
Right.
So there we go. But none of us have two middle names.
Hang on.
What?
You're
No,
you're
it's
not seriously suggesting that Chris Dale's middle name is Randomiser.
Yes, it is. Yes, he had it changed by deed poll some time ago. No, I believe that Chris's middle name is Richard, strangely.
Oh, fair enough.
But the Randomiser may correct me on that in due course. But if not, it should be Randomiser.
Yeah, good.
So if his R is for Randomiser, as co-host of the podcast, what does your N stand for?
Oh, I mean, it'd be handy if it were G and it would be Gubbins, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be.
N, that's quite tricky, isn't it?
Yeah, well, the L's quite tough as well.
Yeah, it is really. Oh, we'll have to think about that.
If you've got suggestions, Podsterons, do email them to podcast@gerryanderson.com. Let us know what you think our middle initials stand for in the context of the podcast.
Yeah. Now, Jamie.
Yes.
Before we go any further.
Yes.
I have got a bone to pick with you.
Oh, dear.
Well, frankly, I'm a little bit annoyed.
Oh, dear.
In fact, perhaps the N could stand for nonplussed.
Oh,
which was how I felt just 20 minutes ago.
Yes.
When I watched a video released on the official Gerry Anderson YouTube account.
Ah, yes.
Featuring the top 5 monsters from Space Precinct.
Yes.
Number 5 was Alicia from Double Duty.
Yeah.
Number 4, I think, was the alien Spore from Death Watch. Number 3 was the Snake from The Snake.
Yep.
Number 2,
yes,
Enil Kamada from Predator and Prey.
Yes.
And number 1, the Cyborg.
Yes.
Are you saying I'm a massive number 2?
I think you're everyone's favourite number 2.
Ah.
In every walk of life.
Okay. I'm putting that on a T-shirt.
Quite, as you should. And I'll tell you what, though, you know who to blame for that
Probably
countdown.
AC, I would think.
No.
Chris Dale.
I believe it was Chris Randomiser Dale.
Right.
Anyway, throughout this podcast, we'll be picking bones with each other, making up things, saying things and other stuff about Gerry Anderson.
Oh, most certainly, yes. Yeah,
Is that
not
fair?
making up a great deal. Most of it's true.
Okay. Most of it's true. Well, since you've complained about your top 5, why don't you do a top 5 countdown of the things that other people can expect to hear during this podcast?
Okay, well, let's do it in order of preference, shall we? So, number 5, we have Fab Facts coming up in just a moment.
Of course.
Number 4 will be, well, news, I suppose, because there's always news from the Gerry Anderson universe.
Okay.
Number 3, something to look forward to. This is an interview with Andrew E.C. Gaska.
Yes.
Talking about, I'm guessing from the little intro we made there, a bit of Space 1999.
Yes, it's about To Everything That Was and Aftershock and All, the 2 graphic novels that are being released this year.
Wonderful.
Where they came from, how they came to be.
Excellent.
What his aspirations were for additional ones and what you might expect to see that's different in To Everything That Was from the original release.
I have to say, where they came from and what they came to be, as you just said there, sounds like another title for a Space 1999 novel, doesn't it?
Okay, fine.
I'd buy that.
Better get on with that one as well.
Number 2, we have the Randomiser coming up a little later on. You see, Chris put me at number 2, so I'm putting him at number 2.
Quite right, too.
But top of the heap, king of the hill, number 1, it's our wonderful Podsterons.
Hurrah.
Who have been emailing again in their droves to podcast@gerryanderson.com. They've been tweeting us and hashtagging us Gerry Anderson Podcast, tagging me, Richard N. James, him over there, I'm Jamie Anderson, and him over there, waiting by the Randomiser, at Chris Dalek. And they've also been commenting on our Facebook group, so I shall be reading out all their comments and thoughts as we go through the episode. How's that?
Brilliant. What a lovely countdown and great revenge to make Chris Dale your number 2.
Exactly.
Good. Not so great that you made Fab Facts number 5.
Oh.
But I'm afraid that doesn't impede its progress, and Fab Facts is pulling into the Gerry Anderson station just about now.
Oh, I think it's on my toe.
Now, time for this week's Fab Facts.
Yes, indeed, it's the 5th best thing about the Gerry Anderson podcast out of 5 things.
Yeah, good.
It's Fab Facts, where I have a book of Fab Facts. Richard gets not very excited, but he does at least say the word fab.
Yeah, I go through the motions, don't I?
Yeah, he uses some of his effort to do.
Yeah.
But the fab that he says stops me flicking through the pages of a tome of Fab Facts.
Yes.
And there we hope to arrive upon a Fab Fact.
We hope to.
Can't guarantee it, but let's give it a go. Richard, are you ready with your very enthusiastic fab?
Born ready.
Then here comes the flicking.
Fab!
Oh,
blimey.
Now, did you hear how fast I went at the front end there? Because I was trying to...
You went at speed.
I was trying to, shake it up a little bit, because we've had a lot of 60s stuff.
Okay.
And it's worked because, well, we've reached the modern age. But
have we?
before I get there,
Yes.
Richard James.
Yes.
What was Thunderbird 2 made out of? I'm sure you know. I don't mean the model, I mean the actual real-life Thunderbird 2.
What was it made out of? The real... But hang on, you said not the model, but the real-life
Yes.
Thunderbird 2.
Well,
the real-life Thunderbird 2 was the model, sure.
No, but in the world of Thunderbirds.
Oh, I see. What was it made of? Metal?
Very good. Yes, that is true. Any particular further information on said metal?
Oh, you'd probably make it out of a bit of aluminium. That's quite light, isn't it?
Yeah, probably a bit flimsy though. Maybe I don't know. Anyway, look, it was an alloy,
right?
That incorporated the yet to be discovered heat-resistant metal kahelium.
Oh, but how was I supposed to know that? If it's yet to be discovered?
Of course, that's the reason why. Sorry, I forgot you didn't have your time machine on you. But I'm sure though that you know that the real Thunderbird 2 model was made out of balsa wood.
Balsa wood?
Fiberglass. That sort of stuff.
That sort of stuff.
Model kit parts.
Model kit stuff. Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay.
That's what I'd say.
However, I bet you didn't know that Thunderbird 2 was once constructed out of maize.
Maize? I didn't know that, no. No, that's true.
Now you
Go
do.
on.
That's the end of this week's... No. This I know this one because, well, you'll find out why. So, maize...
Yeah.
M-A-I-Z-E. Yes,
like
of
the
course.
sweet corn.
Exactly.
Yes.
Now, this happened because York-based farmer Tom Piercy planted over 1 million maize plants to make a maize, M-A-Z-E,
yes,
in the shape of Thunderbird 2.
Right.
Now, this was back in 2015 to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the series, and of course, I was there.
Yes.
Which is how I know about this. The maize plants covered over 300 metres of ground, making it the largest maize in Europe, and the largest representation of Thunderbird 2 ever created.
Wow.
Yes.
Amazing.
The passages through the maze took a week to cut and stretched...
I thought you were going to say a week to navigate. Yeah.
Almost. Well, they did stretch for 6 kilometres.
Really?
Yeah, what's that? 3.8 miles-ish in old money.
Wow.
But how long did it take me to get lost in the maze?
Well now, Jamie, do you know the secret about mazes?
Go on.
Well, on your way in, you just pick a way to turn each time, left or right.
Right.
And if you stick to that turning each time, always turning left when you can, never turning right, or always turning right when you can, never turning left,
yes,
you will make your way to the middle. And I think you could probably do it in about 12 minutes.
Okay, well, here's how accurate you were. I didn't actually go in the maze. That's why. I only saw it from above, from a helicopter, which was actually quite terrifying. It was very, very impressive, though. And in addition to the representation of Thunderbird 2 itself, there are also the words, Thunderbirds are 50.
Oh, nice.
50, like...
Yeah.
Right. Sadly, though, like all mazes of this kind, they don't last forever, and even International Rescue couldn't save the maze from the lucky cows that got to eat it.
Rude.
Yes.
I see. They were, sorry, actual
cows. Yeah.
I see.
You can see some pictures of the maze at ander.sn/maize, M-A-I-Z-E. So that's andr.sn/maize.
Yeah.
What sort of crops, though, would you use to sculpt another Anderson craft?
Oh.
Perhaps a spelt SPV? Or
How's that spelt?
As a spelt?
Oh, I see.
Or a barley battlehawk?
A barley battlehawk. Yeah, good.
A wheat eagle? I mean, do let us know. We'd love to know your thoughts. Podcast at gerryanderson.com, or you can perhaps leave us a tweet using the hashtag ThundergrainsAreGo.
Right. Now, I'm going to confidently predict right now that we are going to get no emails on that subject and no tags on Twitter. That's my prediction. Just saying.
Okay, Podsterons, you've heard him.
Wrong.
Prove him wrong.
Yeah.
ThundergrainsAreGo. Oh, dear. Who writes
great.
this stuff?
I've no idea.
Yeah, not me.
Nice. Yeah, good.
Lovely. No, it was very nice. It was a very hot day. I took a model of Thunderbird 2 there and posed with Tom, who dressed up as Virgil, I think. And yes, it was quite a sweaty day, but rather cool. And I think one of the reasons I didn't do the maze was because at the time when they launched it, the maze was only up to your waist. So, so you could sort of step over it, or at least see where you were going. So it was
I see.
A cheat. But
I love a maze, though. I love a maze.
I love a maze.
Yeah, amazing maze.
But now you've messed up mazes forever with your maze finding.
Well, I know. Now you know. You'll always know. Yeah, sorry about that.
That's all right. Well, thanks for that. Can't unknow it. Very much like this fab fact. So let's leave it behind. That's the end of this week's Maze Fact!
It had to be.
There was nothing else, really.
Exactly, that's right. Well, look, let's navigate our way through the rest of the podcast, shall we?
Ooh,
and
keeping left at all times.
Yes, turn to our postbag. That's podcast at gerryanderson.com, of course, and people have been emailing in their droves. It's a bumper crop. Dom Riley, top of the heap, says, hello, chaps. Hope you're doing well. I really enjoyed this week's Randomiser, being a huge Tugs fan. Yes, this is the Randomiser controversy, of course.
Yes.
Whereby Chris Dale, in a part of his Randomiser segment, reviewed, let's say, a Gerry Anderson-related programme, rather than a Gerry Anderson programme itself, Tugs, which you may or may not be familiar with. But Dom says he's been a huge fan, and I remember watching it, he says, when it was repeated in the late 90s. Munitions is one of the best episodes, especially the use of Cinesound Library, which I discovered some years ago when watching London's Burning Series 3, Episode 2, that they had used a sound of a klaxon commonly used in Gerry Anderson's repertoire as a ship's engine explodes, resulting in a large fire. London's Burning also used an explosion sound from the Cinesound Library in Series 4, Episode 10, as a flashback of when Sub-Officer Hallam is burnt alive, or rather buried alive, under the foundry in the previous episode.
Well, there we are.
And after all that, Dom says, stay safe.
Thanks, Dom.
Thanks
Dom.
for that. If I don't stay safe, then hopefully my demise will be accompanied by a particular sound from the Cinesound Library. That would be appropriate, wouldn't it?
or a good old Barry Gray.
Yes.
Wah, wah, wah.
much more appropriate, I would think.
Yeah.
Leah got in touch to say, hello, Jamie, Richard and Chris. I was watching the Sham Cham the other day and noticed that Lady Penelope's disguise looked a lot like Marina. Any thoughts or comments? Is it Marina's puppet they used, or is it someone else, or a specially made puppet, which I personally doubt? Says Leah.
Gosh. I mean,
yeah,
I don't
interesting,
know.
Isn't it? No.
So someone will know the answer, and whoever you are, you will email us in.
Yep.
Podcast at gerryanderson.com.
Yep.
Thank you.
And answer Leah's question. Ambassador Paul Hyde from the Isle of Wight has been in touch. You know, as you can imagine, we've had a lot of correspondence about Chris Dale's Randomiser.
Well, it split the nation.
It really did. Paul Hyde says, hi everyone, hope you're all well. I think the Randomiser General has gone potty by doing something not Anderson related. How dare he do that? One other thing I need to ask, Jamie, sudden gear change there. While watching the documentary about your father, while Jamie was talking in the background, there was a bust of a head, and it looked like Alec Freeman from UFO. Was it?
Well, I can exclusively reveal on the Gerry Anderson podcast that it was, in fact, not Alec Freeman.
Right.
It was not even Anderson related. It was just a bust at Pinewood Studios.
I see. Okay. Right.
Sorry to disappoint you.
Yeah, that's a shame. Gary Davis got in touch to say, hi, Jamie. You called for comments on this week's Randomiser. Yep, certainly did. Please instruct the Randomiser, says Gary. No more non-Anderson shows on the Gerry Anderson Randomiser. Any further transgression should be a sacking offence. Could you imagine? Who else would do it, though? Yes. Who else could we get?
Well, no one.
Gary suggests he's either been Mysteronized or on the Captain Scarlet champagne.
It's quite possible. I have thought that myself.
Jonathan Westall said, hello, Jamie, Richard, Chris, and fellow Podsterons. Hope you're all doing well. I'm continuously enjoying the podcast every week. I've read the latest 5 Star 5 novel, says Jonathan, and thoroughly enjoyed it. I look forward to reading what comes next. Really? Keep up the good work, Richard, says Jonathan. In light of what happened in Pod 246 when an episode of Tugs came up on the Randomiser, he continues, I was surprised but really enjoyed hearing Chris's thoughts, as I remember watching it on VHS during my childhood. I watched the episode again on YouTube later and could see why it was chosen. The model work and explosions in it were brilliant, which is something that I always enjoy when watching the Super Marination shows. Yes, Tugs isn't a Gerry Anderson production, but then again, neither was the Paul Star pilot episode, and that came up on the Randomiser all the way back in Pod 42.
That's true.
There you go. So there is precedent. Keep up the good work, gentlemen. FAB SIGPWOR, says Jonathan Westall. Continuing on a similar vein, as you said, it did divide the nation and certainly got our Podsterons rather riled.
Did.
Chris Turner says, hi, Jamie, Richard and Chris. On Pod 246, after Chris's review of Tugs, with its rather tenuous link to Thunderbirds, you were wondering what other shows with an equally tenuous link to all things Anderson Chris could review. So here are some of my nominations. Do you want to hear these?
I cannot wait.
Of course. Well, firstly, Coronation Street. Shane Rimmer appeared in the show in the late 1960s, so that would be a good place to start.
We've gone really off-piste immediately with these suggestions.
Well, yes. Chris says, I'm really looking forward to Chris's humorous take on the long-running feud between Ina Sharples and Elsie Tanner. Then he suggests Mission Impossible. Space 1999's Barbara Bain and Martin Landau appeared in the first 3 seasons of the TV version of the franchise. Maybe Chris could explain how the Impossible Mission Force could load up their gear into a van and then drive to the East European People's Republic, which always looks suspiciously like Southern California. But, says Chris, my number 1 nomination will be 2001 A Space Odyssey. The connection is, of course, that director Stanley Kubrick poached several of the Andersons' visual effects crew, including Brian Johnson. So, Chris's Randomiser will be the perfect forum for explaining the big questions posed by the film. What is the significance of the black monolith discovered on the moon? Why does Hal the computer go rogue and start killing the astronauts on the Jupiter mission? And just what is that ending all about? Over to you, Chris. Best wishes, Chris Turner.
Those are some seriously insoluble questions, though. So.
Great ideas, yeah.
Yeah. Good luck, Chris, with those future episodes of the Randomiser.
Good luck, yes. But finally, and again on the same theme, hello, Rich and Jamie, says Simpsons Clips 24. I was listening to the most recent podcast, and you were mentioning something about a dance synchronised to the podcast theme. But I think you might have forgotten one thing, chaps. Did you not see me dance to the podcast theme at the live recording last year?
Oh. I don't recall that. We'll have to see it again at some future event.
Yes. SIG says Simpsons Clips 24 PS. Do you reckon the next time the podcast falls on Brian Johnson's birthday that Chris Dale could take a look at an episode of Dream Street? It was a preschool TV show which Brian directed that featured radio-controlled vehicles not too dissimilar to Tugs as the main characters. We've opened a can of worms.
Oh, goodness me.
Haven't we?
Well, we were some time ago worrying about when the Randomiser might run dry, and at this rate, I mean, you can just put in any old rubbish.
That's a little unfair. A little unfair.
I'm in a little unfair mood.
You are, I can tell. Yes, all for now, but keep those emails coming in because we love to hear from you. We would be nothing without you, our wonderful Podsterons. So send them in at podcast@gerryanderson.com.
Do that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Is that it?
No,
Forgot the rest of the day off?
Well, I wish. Wouldn't that be lovely? Oh, lovely snooze. Ooh. Anyway, no, there's lots more.
Oh, is
and
there?
rather than Gerry Anderson Snooze,
yes.
shall we have some Gerry Anderson News?
I see what you did there.
It wasn't bad, was it?
Clever you.
Here's some Gerry Anderson News. Yes,
news.
Is it you waking me up from my Gerry Anderson snooze?
Gotta be quick.
With news of the Gerry Anderson News. Yes, it is the Gerry Anderson News.
Yeah, go on then.
Which will hopefully prevent you from needing a snoozy.
Snooze.
Thanks for playing along. International Women's Day has been and gone.
Yeah.
However, you might like to watch The Women of UFO, a short documentary on the Gerry Anderson YouTube channel. featuring one of them. Gabrielle Drake.
I would imagine so.
Jane Morrow, Georgina Moon, and some others too.
So. Yeah, right.
It's a really lovely thing. Lots of little candid moments of them remembering things, including some very specific memories from one of them about a jockstrap.
Right.
So I'll leave you to watch The Women of UFO on the Gerry Anderson YouTube channel for more of that. Also on the Gerry Anderson YouTube channel, the Keith Shackleton story continues. So if you enjoyed our interview from a few weeks ago, you can now see some of the video footage of Keith talking about the genesis of TV21 and the licensing of AP Films and TV Century 21 and TV 21 itself. And it's all very interesting, so enjoy that.
Lovely.
UFO fans, for the special edition of the UFO Technical Operations Manual, you may remember that we included a newly designed retro-style poster for The Cat with 10 Lives. That would have been the film that was being made that was the cover-up for the events that happened in the episode Cat with 10 Lives, you see.
I see, yeah.
So that poster is now available on a T-shirt because lots of you were requesting it. So if you just go to Gerry Anderson Store and search for 10 Lives or Cat with 10, then you'll find it there.
Yeah, good.
Have you yet entered our prize draw to win a lovely collection of Terrahawks goodies?
I have not.
Well, you should do it immediately because
should.
The competition closes on the 17th of March. You can enter it just by finding the post on social media and following the instructions therein. So it's a retweet and a follow and a mention on Twitter, that sort of thing.
Yep.
Every entry counts separately, but you can only do it once per platform.
Yep.
And we will randomly draw a winner on or after the 17th. You'll be getting audio CDs and Blu-rays and a Zelda mask and some other bits and pieces too. So
Right. Nice.
there you go. It's all part of our celebrations of Terrahawks' 40th anniversary, and the 10th of every month we'll be doing something. And this
Great.
month is that giveaway.
Lovely.
Now, for some, I think they may describe it as a big win coming this Friday.
All right.
On
Go
the
on.
17th in the evening, there's a Joe 90 live stream happening.
Is there?
Yes,
What,
indeed.
Are you doing that?
I'm being cajoled to do it. We'll see. I think we'll have some people who are maybe a bit more pro Joe 90 because there
pro
are plenty
90.
of them. Pro 90, very good. Yes.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So I think tune in from 6 or 6:30 p.m, maybe 7 p.m. actually. You'll be able to see on all of our social media platforms and YouTube. And I'm told that at the end of it, there will be a very special announcement.
Oh, really? What about?
Yep. Secret, innit?
Oh, trying to trick you.
Goodness me, yes,
Yeah,
it's
but you
top
can
secret.
tell me.
Well, I'll tell
it's
you
just me.
afterwards.
No, but tell me now.
No,
they're
I'll
not listening.
Go away. Anyway, so tune in on Friday for some Joe 90 fun and a big win if you're a Joe 90 fan.
Right.
If you are a Space 1999 fan, however,
Yes.
the 6-inch figures of your favourite Space 1999 characters should be arriving in stock this week. We only have about 80 of them left. So if you're looking to get hold of them, just pop along to the Gerry Anderson store and search Space 1999 and you can get a Victor Bergman figure, a Morrow figure or a Koenig figure.
Wow.
Or all three. And they are rather lovely articulated things, nicely sculpted, brilliantly finished, and I'm sure you'll enjoy those. And finally, as you may have seen,
Yes.
the Joe 90 soundtrack is on the way.
Ah, lovely.
And it's being released on the 14th of April. If you want to
Great.
pre-order it, you can do so from the Gerry Anderson store or wherever you buy your CD soundtracks.
Nice. Does it come with its
CD
own
soundtracks?
sort of?
Go
CD. Yeah. Well, does it come with its own sort of big rat chair and device that you can sit in while you're listening?
I'm afraid not. You'll have to make up your own there.
There's a competition.
Yes, build your own big rat. No prizes, but maybe some notoriety. That's all we can offer here at the Gerry Anderson podcast. Anyway, that's loads of stuff. I feel like we should stop talking now. So that is the end of this week's Gerry Anderson news, but the beginning of this week's Gerry Anderson Snooze.
That was the news.
Brilliant. I thought you were going to go, that was the news, time for a snooze. Richard.
Yeah,
Thank
sorry.
you.
What was that?
Yeah.
Great. Well, I'm glad you stopped there because there'd be no news for next week, would there?
There's always news.
There is always news. Great. Just like there's always people commenting on our Facebook group.
Yes. Can't stop them.
No, very easy to find us. Just go on over to Facebook if you're on there, and why not search for official Gerry Anderson podcast listeners group. Answer a couple of questions, we'll let you in. And like Alex Patrick, David Hollis, and Joe Hollis, and Hannah, and Nathan, and Andrew, you could comment as well. So David Hollis says, look what just arrived today. And he posted a picture of his Space 1999 Moonbase Alpha blanket. God.
Nice.
Yeah, he said it's big and it feels nice and warm. I think this is a great buy.
Oh, isn't that
That's
lovely?
good, isn't it? Yeah, nice review. Alex Patrick says, if Chris Dale can get away with doing a non-Anderson production, here we go, albeit with an Anderson link, are Team America World Police, the 2004 Thunderbirds movie, and maybe Neon Genesis Evangelion on the table? 2024 marks the 20th anniversary of the first two, and the 1st of April is on Monday that year. But Joe Holly suspects, a lot of Team America clips would be censored, but there are also potentially kids listening, says Joe. That's true. I know Jerry stopped watching it during the puking scene.
I got to the end of the puking scene, to be fair. Yeah, pretty much the end of it, yeah.
I mean, I have to confess, I did do a search for it the other night online on our various streaming things. It's only available on Paramount Plus, I think. And I was going to have to pay to watch it, so I thought I'd leave it. But I remember it being a lot of fun. Hannah says, as good as the Series 2 are, talking Thunderbirds here, as good as the Series 2 and movie heads are, I much prefer the Series 1 versions. I think they have something that the later ones don't. They seem to have more life in them. That's the best explanation I can think of. What are your thoughts? What do you think about the heads from Series 1 as opposed to the heads from Series 2?
I'm cranium agnostic, I think.
Fine. Well, Nathan Dunham says, is there any story behind why the puppet head for Scott was changed? His original was really charismatic, whereas the other one I hate with a passion. He looks like a complete, unfeeling half-wit.
Gosh.
Well, don't hold back,
No.
Nathan. Yeah.
I'm really not sure.
But
no. Sorry.
Yeah, but luckily, AC very calmly explains the second one was created for the larger cinema screen and then used for the Series 2 episodes.
Well, there you go. Now you know.
So that might account for the change that Hannah noticed between a lot of the heads from Series 1 to Series 2, the fact that they were, augmented and perhaps perfected a little for the big screen and then simply used for the later episodes.
Exactly.
There you go. If you'd like to be a part of conversations like this...
and many more.
And many more. And post pictures of your merch and pictures of your cosplay and the models you're building and anything that reminds you of Gerry Anderson, then head on over to our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/Podsterons, and do exactly that.
Lovely. It's a nice place to be, isn't it?
It is a nice place to be, yeah.
Oh, well, so while you're doing that right now, I mean, I can introduce you to the interview if you like.
Oh, yeah, you do that,
By the time I've introduced it, you'll be ready to come back and give it your full attention.
That's a good idea, yeah.
How's that? Okay, well, this week's interviewee is Andrew E.C. Gaska. Mm-hmm. But I shan't be calling him that throughout this. I shall be calling him Drew.
Okay.
It's easier to say. Drew is what is known as a canon consultant.
Is he?
For 20th Century Fox.
I like the sound of that.
20th Century Studios, I should say. Now, it has nothing to do with firing balls of iron. Instead, it means that he is an expert on franchises like Alien, Terminator, Predator, Planet of the Apes, and many more.
Right, okay.
He's written role-playing games, novels, comics, and even extensive in-house Bibles for various companies to help keep track of the canon for expansive storylines.
Ah.
In addition to all this work, he also created 2 lovely books, To Everything That Was and Aftershock and Awe. Both essential for Space 1999 fans. Now, they've been out of print for about 10 years, but both are coming back. To Everything That Was is available to pre-order now. And he's going to talk about that in particular, as well as Aftershock and Awe, and his hopes for what he wanted to do, what he did do, what we will be doing for this release. So, yes, let's hand over now to me, weirdly, and Drew.
Not so weirdly.
Yes. Okay, here they go. So this week, our guest is Andrew E.C. Gaska. I'm going to be calling him Drew throughout this, but Drew, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Andrew E.C. Gaska. I am the writer of the award-winning Alien role-playing game. I have worked on the Terminator role-playing game. For several years, I've been a consultant to first 20th Century Fox, now 20th Century Studios, on Alien, Predator, and Planet of the Apes. I've written internal Bibles for those properties over at Fox, and I've written a couple of Planet of the Apes novels, and I apparently, and I was unaware of this, apparently I wrote something called Space 1998. I'm not sure what that is.
You know very well about that show, and you're going to go into some detail in due course, I'm sure. So, can I call you Drew, or do you want me to go for Andrew? I mean, you can be called Andrew E.C. Gaska through every single mention if you prefer, but Drew's going to be easier, isn't it?
Drew works better for me, yeah.
So, Drew, you instantly dive in with quite the CV of the resume, I should say. Sorry for our American listeners, of cult tie-in games and comics and stuff. Would you say you are a cult TV and comics aficionado, perhaps? Is that fair?
It depends on what your definition of cult is, because nowadays all this stuff is mainstream. You know, I mean, you'd say Space 1999 and people are still like, wait, what's that? Because it's sort of passed with a couple of generations without any new, film content. But I mean, Star Wars or Alien or Planet of the Apes, everyone's, oh, that's cool now, as opposed to high school when I used to get beat up after school for liking it. So I don't know. It was called at one point.
Okay, but it's yeah, you're right. I mean, the geekdom in general, nerdom has become more mainstream, more acceptable, more cool, and more widely embraced, I guess. So, well, let's go back then just to your early days, if it's not too painful for you, of being beaten up after school. So, what got you into this world at the time? What are the kind of key titles and moments of your youth that got you into science fiction and cult, which is now mainstream?
So the first thing definitely would be, and I'm sure a lot of people will say this, is Star Wars. I was born in 1972, so I was 5 when Star Wars came out. So I was too young when Space 1999. I started to be watching it as it aired. But Star Wars and the fact that Star Trek was on every channel, everywhere, at any time, you just turn the channel up, but episodes are, turn to the next channel, we'll watch the Star Trek here. And my dad used to watch Star Trek all the time. So during the summers, it's funny. It's so different now. My parents, we had air conditioning in one room, my parents' bedroom, okay? And my sister and I would sleep on the floor in my parents' bedroom during the summer when it's really hot. And we'd wait for my dad to come home, my mom and my sister and I. And when he'd come home, immediately put on Honeymooners, which was followed by Twilight Zone and Star Trek. And then at 1 a.m, Space 1999. All right. And so 6 or 7-year-old me is watching this stuff and loving it and then passing out by the time Space 1999 comes around. So I remember back in those days, like falling asleep and then hearing Maya's transformation sound and waking up wait, what? She's a bird now? Okay. And then falling back asleep. And that plus my friend had the Eagle from Mattel, the big
nice.
And we used to cram Star Wars figures in there. So,
good crossover.
I love that stuff. I also had this amazing puzzle, which actually ties into what we're doing with the book stuff. It was this greenish puzzle. It was painting by Morrow. It was supposed to be the cover of issue 9 of the Charlton comics, but the top comics have been canceled, so they're like, make it a puzzle. So I had that puzzle, and I built it, and it was one of those few puzzles that I didn't want to take apart. So my mom had it on a piece of board, and we glued it down, and so I had that in my room, and just really loved that painting with it. It's a bunch of robot cyborg things attacking Helena and Koenig, and it's such a story in that one painting. So I was into Space 1999 without being into Space 1999 at that point. And then if we're going to fast forward a little bit, I mean, I don't know if we circle around conversation stuff, but
we will.
Yeah. In regards to Space 1999, loving Space 1999, when I was in college, well, I've always been a Battlestar Galactica fan, and that never ended. Okay. And then there was this book called Analyzing Battlestar Galactica, I think, from John Kennedy Muir. And I read his book, and it was a really good factual breakdown of the show, and I really enjoyed it. And I said, well, what else has this guy done? And he wrote a book called Exploring Space 1999. And at that point, you couldn't get Space 1999 on DVD or Blu-ray or anything. And I was like, well, you know what? I vaguely remember the show. I kind of want to watch it again. This was before internet, people. So The internet was in its infancy.
Wow.
So we would go to comic conventions, and everybody would have bootlegs of every show.
Nice.
Like, you know, and it's like it would be 15th generation videotapes of a show that still has part of the commercials in it. But it was the only way to get these shows to see them back then.
Yeah.
And so as much as the fact that all this bootlegging was going on, the networks and everything at that point were recognizing the treasure trove they had that everybody wanted to see. So I went to convention, I got a couple of Space 1999 tapes, and then I fell completely in love.
Even with the rubbish bootleg copies, it was still an experience.
Back then. We didn't know.
Yeah, if only you could have compared it back then to Blu-ray. Okay, so whatever happened when you watched it first time, it grabbed you enough to kind of plant the Space 1999 seed. So what was it about the show, particularly when you've got a backdrop of stuff as epic as Star Wars and as long-running and as involved as Star Trek and all that kind of stuff? Space, this British show made to feel American, it's got a different feel to it. So how come that got its hooks into you, do you think?
As a child, Maya definitely was a big. And it's seriously true. Aside from her sound effect of waking me up every 5 minutes. Yeah. Beautiful actress. Shane. She turned into whatever she felt like, you know, and it was cool. It was easy to, as a child, to be, all right, I'm going to turn into an eagle now. I'm going to do this now, you know? So it was definitely Maya and the eagle. And I think everybody you talk to loves Space 1999. The eagle has got a special place in their heart, I think.
Yeah, always.
It's one of the best designs that we've had in sci-fi that kind of looks like, it looks like, hey, we could go there, even though we probably wouldn't go there in that direction. You know, it's got all those pieces on it like Star Wars does. So it looks like it's real. It's not just some smooth thing. It looks like it's kind of functional the way the landing pads are, and the fact that it can pick up the different cargo containers. I love that. As what are they going to get now? You know, but I only wish that on the show it separated the nose and the engine and could put it together like on the toy. But aside from all that, right? I was already falling in love with Captain Kirk and Mr. Spock and all that other stuff with Star Trek, and that type of, without realizing it, that type of moral play was getting ingrained in me and helping shape who I became as an adult. And there was a bit of that going on, you know, in season 1 for sure with Victor and Koenig all the time. So by the time I got to college and looking at it, I was like, okay, so this was intended as Star Trek's successor on the airwaves. And I think that in the first season, there's some really epic episodes that were accomplishing that. There were some, like, what the hell is this? The episodes also. And season 2 kind of goes way off the rails. But there's still something in all that.
Yeah. The thoughtful, the philosophical, the human, as well as Maya and eagles. So you have the eye candy and the thoughtful stuff, basically, whether it be people or vehicles.
Well, I tell people all the time, it's like these properties that captured my heart and so many others are things like Star Trek and Space 1999 and Planet of the Apes. Like in Planet of the Apes, it's like, as a kid, I'm like, monkeys on horses, awesome, you know? And they got guns, oh my God.
Yeah.
But then as an adult, you're like, wait, this is talking about some serious issues, social political stuff. And you're like, so it works on so many different levels that the whole family can enjoy it for absolutely different reasons. So I think our love for these things, which were clearly hooked as a child in most of our cases, has as matured as we have, you know, what we love about it.
Yeah, and there's definitely something in that kind of 60s to 80s approach to entertainment when things were not so pigeonholed to a certain demographic. So, you know, stuff that kids will watch now between 6 and 9, they'll probably never revisit because there's no new layer to find. But like you say, you kind of keep peeling back the layers as you grow older, as well as the nostalgia factor. So I can see that it's like a heady mix, right?
Yeah. But it's like, it's not just nostalgia. There is important things to be said in these properties, Space 19 and included. And as an adult, what I like about Space 99 and that differentiates it from the other is the dark gothic feel of that first season. You know, it feels like space is a scary place.
Yeah.
Even the idea of the mysterious unknown entity that's guiding them through a black hole or something like that. It's like, what is that thing up to? It's like, why would what is it? Why is it saving the moon? What does it need them for somewhere else? There was all these questions that unfortunately never got answered on the show itself. But, you know, fans turned professionals have been thinking about this stuff for like 40, 50 years now, you know?
Yeah. So, and then we end up with what we're going to talk about shortly. So there's two things I want to cover before we get onto the books. First is beyond Space 1999 into the other kind of Anderson titles. Is there anything else that entered into your consciousness when you were a kid, a teen, from the worlds of Anderson, or has happened since? Or is it all laser focused on space?
It's actually, for me, it actually is laser focused on space. I never got to see UFO growing up. Actually, I still haven't seen UFO. Everyone tells me I need to see UFO. I know. I mean,
Drew,
maybe if somebody sent me a Blu-ray set, you know, I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, hint taken. We'll have to see what we can do there. Okay. Well, but that's great to keep it kind of space focused. It means you're the man for the job, right, on this project. Thank you, Drew. More Drew next week.
Lovely.
If you would like a copy of To Everything That Was, or certainly to secure one, then you can do so at anderdotson/TETW, all lowercase. That's andr.sn/TETW. To Everything That Was.
Yeah. I mean, I've got a question.
Yes.
You mentioned in your little introduction there that some of the stories contain new material linking years 1 and 2 from the series.
Well, I didn't actually say that, but I stopped short of...
Did you? I wasn't listening.
No, I know you weren't, but you've read it from the script now, so...
Yeah. Is that okay to keep it in?
Of course.
Well, because the question is, in my head, when I'm thinking of something that happened between Series 1 and Series 2, what theme tune did they use?
Opened with Series 1, closed with Series 2 theme, I think. In my head, anyway.
Okay. Yeah, I could go with that.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go.
Okay, yeah, well done. That's good. Great.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, interesting interview. Right, let's move on quickly. Over on Twitter.
Oh, yes.
People have been hashtagging us Gerry Anderson Podcast.
Have they?
Giving us their thoughts about all things Gerry Anderson related. They have.
Yes.
Yeah. For example, Ms. Solo tweeted, this is a nice one. In our long-standing hunt for a new to us, she's an X, he's a Y, together they solve cozy crimes series, we've discovered a Gerry Anderson series about a vicar that solves crimes. And yes, he's a puppet.
A puppet?
That's good. I've never really thought of Secret Service as being sort of cozy crime, buddy. He's a vicar. He's a gardener. He's a minuscule gardener, and together they solve crime. That's quite nice.
Yeah, I feel like there was a a Secret Service VHS teaser trailer.
Yes.
Hang on. I'm going to find this.
Okay.
I'm really sorry to do this while we're, you
carry on.
Busy, but yes, you talk amongst yourselves and I'll find this thing.
Well, look, in the meantime, Dave Lawson has tweeted that intro for the randomiser, this is the infamous randomiser of a couple of weeks ago, was so funny. After all that apologising for doing non-Gerry Anderson stuff, says Dave, and playing the Batman theme, it's hard to drive properly when I'm laughing so hard. Yes, after a very fulsome apology, Chris led us all up the garden path again by leading us to believe he was doing Batman in the Gerry Anderson podcast for the randomiser. But was not to be. Ian Jacqueline says, for those of you over the pond, do you remember watching Gerry Anderson shows, particularly one known as Captain Scarlet and the Mysterons from 1967? It was a series that was created by the makers of classic TV shows such as Fireball, XL5, Stingray and Thunderbirds, and in 2005 the show was reimagined using CGI, to which Scott Martin replied, I'm in the US and came to almost all Gerry Anderson shows as an adult in my 30s. Wow, that's good, isn't it?
Yeah.
So missed out as a child, I guess, because they weren't quite so ubiquitous. But I suppose what with streaming and everything, it's much easier to get, to come across these things, even across the pond in later life.
It's very global these days,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Now, I've managed to track down the audio from this Secret Service ITC trailer. Would you like to hear it?
Oh, I'd love to. Go on.
Then here it comes.
The Secret Service. Criminals are motivated by greed.
They're a devious bunch.
But Father Stanley Unwin answers to a higher source.
Yes, indeed, we must remember that.
Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Magnificent.
He's a man of considerable ability.
A very forceful addition to anyone's army.
Whose greatest assets are an honest face.
Why am I telling you all this?
And the Minimizer, a top-secret shrinking device.
Let's just call it a miracle.
With the help of his trusted assistant Matthew, Father Unwin fights the big crimes in a small way.
It will require a very unorthodox approach.
Join the crime fighter who's one of a kind in The Secret Service.
Well,
that's great.
There you are. That was worth waiting for, wasn't it?
It really was.
Do you think we should do...
What a strange voiceover that was, too.
I know. Do you think we should do every podcast in that voice? With
great.
his secret weapon, Chris Dale, and his randomizer.
That's wonderful.
It's fantastic, yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. No, well found. Well found.
Well, it's actually thanks to Chris that I found it, because he'd made a video of it a little while ago, which I was able to pull down. So thank you, Chris Dale.
Yes,
nice. I'm sorry to distract from where you were going.
No, that's great. No, that proves the point perfectly. It's lovely. Continuing, Harry Dibbs has tweeted, I think I'm a lifelong fan of modernist architecture, precisely because I grew up in cramped old York, watching Gerry Anderson's spectacular sets in Technicolor. Looks like the future, like freedom, he says.
Ooh.
That's an interesting point, isn't it?
Yeah.
It looks like the future. Really interesting. Andrew Spratt says, while I was clearing my attic in 2019, I came across a letter from Look-In magazine where my drawing of Gerry Anderson's Space 1999 style spaceship was on display at Blackpool from 1976 when I was 13. Found some other drawings as well from 1976. I was daft on Eagle and Hawk spaceships. Well,
wasn't everyone?
Now, you're going to like this one, Jamie.
Hang on. You normally say that when it's something that I won't like. So.
No, but you really will. This is a tweet from Dogthorpe Infant School.
Oh, right, okay.
And they have tweeted, over 60 years ago, when Dogsthorpe Infant School was in its own infancy, Gerry Anderson was using everyday objects like kitchen plastic and cardboard boxes and tubes to build rockets and launch pads to fuel their children's stories. This term, our early years foundation stage infants are building their own.
Oh, lovely.
Isn't that wonderful? That's from Dogsthorpe Infant School. They're
Amazing.
on Twitter. Go and find them and give them a follow and see how they do.
We will, absolutely.
Yes.
Let's see. They might be inspiring the next generation by doing that. Brilliant.
Isn't that lovely? Yeah, we like a bit of that, don't we? Great. There we are. That's all for now on Twitter. But don't forget, hashtag us and tag us and tweet some nice things to us, and I might read them out.
Well, I can't wait for you to do so.
Yeah, see how I feel.
While I do wait,
Yes.
I feel like we should hand over to a third party.
Oh, yes.
To deliver his sermon this week.
Do you mean the second best part of the podcast, the Randomiser?
Yes, I do mean exactly that. Yes, it's the Randomiser with Chris Randomiser Dale, also known as the Randomeister. He's going to randomly select a random episode. Oh, sorry, I should be doing the Secret Service voice here, shouldn't I?
You should really.
I can't bring myself to do it now, but just imagine I'm doing it. He's going to randomly select a random episode of the Random Gerry Anderson Show and say some things alongside it. So please welcome along the man with a very kind face and a big randomizer, Chris Dale.
He does have a kind face.
What time is it?
400 hours.
Why did you guys have to bring me all the way out here at this time of day, morning, night, whatever it is?
Oh, a natural curiosity.
Oh, you're a sadist, Paul Metcalf, you know that?
Another 10 minutes, then we'll start back.
Oh, that just makes it all the more pointless. What possible reason could you have for dragging me out of bed? Oh, right, okay. Yeah, the randomizer. Press button, get printout, me sleep. Yes, fine, whatever. Whoever wants to press it, yes, go ahead.
You're the electronics expert, Lieutenant. You think you can handle the controls?
Yes, Captain Scarlet.
Right. What can it be? We'll soon know.
I just hope it's something that makes getting out of bed at this ungodly hour worthwhile.
Look.
Yes, that's the what did you call it? The printout. That's it.
Yes.
So, Captain Scarlet, if you would give us the good or the bad news.
Let's see. It's Crater 101.
Oh, excellent. Oh, well, that's sure to make some people very happy. I dare say it's almost worth getting out of bed for.
Do I get a coconut?
No, I did say almost.
Let's get over there and investigate.
Leading the fight, one man fate has made indestructible. His name, Captain Scarlet.
So here we are. This has been a long time coming. We've had Lunarville 7 and we've had Dangerous Rendezvous, but we haven't had the middle instalment of the Lunarville trilogy, Crater 101. But here it is today. And I instantly love this picture of...
Stop the picture.
...the Mysteron complex that we start off with.
No doubt. That shot proves conclusively Crater 101 on the far side of the moon houses a Mysteron complex.
Yes, Colonel. We were shocked when we saw it from the moonmobile.
Shocked, startled, and surprised, Colonel. Yes, I love the way that, A, the complex looks completely different to the last time we saw it, which I think is a good thing, because I wasn't quite... It was hard to get a sense of what or where it was last time. But also I love all the machines have lined up for a group photo. I think that's quite sweet.
Have been made with the lunar authorities to carry this out.
Anywho, we have a plan for dealing with this.
More dangerous. It involves a calculated risk of the first mech.
Colonel White says it must be destroyed as soon as possible, even though in most running orders, this episode doesn't follow Lunarville 7 immediately.
Decided to send a volunteer party into Crater 101, into the Mysteron complex. Objective? To find and remove the power source from the complex.
And I've decided you guys are the volunteer party. Yes, scarlet, blue and green.
Although you have discovered our complex on the moon, it will never reveal its secrets. Anyone who dares to enter will be destroyed.
I've always thought that this Mysteron threat almost sounded like...
Been warned.
Yes.
We have not...
Sorry, they're still talking. I always thought that this threat sounded like the Mysterons were sort of holding up their car keys and sort of dangling it in front of the Earth. Woohoo! Look at this! Tempting! You want this, but don't come. But if you came, woo! Look, you could learn secrets. It's... The way they phrase it is so much of, just a tantalising prospect that Spectrum can't afford to pass up, probably. And now we have this shot of everyone just sort of sitting in silence while the jolly Spectrum music plays out.
Your decisions can be made in the strictest confidence.
I'm ready to go, sir.
Thank you, Lieutenant. As the electronics expert, you will play a vital part in the operation.
Count me in, sir.
Thank you, Captain. I know I can rely on you.
He's full of praise for everybody this week.
Well, Colonel, I am due for 48 hours furlough in Miami. But I couldn't really relax knowing the kind of trouble these two would get into without...
And that's an interesting shot there. I think that may be the only time in the series you see Captain Blue's smiling face.
Or what you will find.
Probably good, because it looks a bit strange. Because Captain Blue, I think, had a face that sort of looked quite smiley anyway. If not smiley, then, he clearly possessed an upbeat personality. The smiling head just looks a bit weird. I'm glad that wasn't used again.
Area. It was built up from
But we're here now, on the moon, in Lunarville 6.
days.
What do we know about the vehicles which were building the complex?
And they built a model of Crater 101.
Programmed to carry out the task. This larger one controls the operation.
I don't know how or when all this was started.
The lunar controller was a Mysteron agent.
Citation needed, I think.
Him when Lunarville 7 was destroyed.
Again, nothing in Lunarville 7 to say that he absolutely 110% was a Mysteron agent.
Decided to use a low...
Personally, I've always felt it was more interesting that perhaps he wasn't, but...
Good.
Hey-ho, I'm not going to argue with Linda Nolan and her rather pointy glasses.
Are the arrangements for the atomic device finalized, Fraser?
Yes, Miss Nolan. I will follow the Moonmobile in a lunar tank carrying the bomb.
Oh, I recognise that computer prop. I think that's the one from Ricochet.
Standard Earth time.
The one with all the lights and tape recorders on the bottom. It's just behind Fraser there.
2 to get to Crater 101, and 4 hours to remove the power source and get clear.
So we have a plan.
We're on our way.
We're going to head out to the complex, have a look around, and then blow it up at midnight.
I'd like you to take this. It's a lucky charm. I'm not really superstitious, but please take it.
To Linda Nolan, the CB-29 Neptune probe, July 10th, 2058.
Another July 10th.
We made it ahead of schedule.
I remember. You were the project controller on the first Neptune probe launched from the moon.
Yes, Captain Blue.
There's a lot of writing to get on one lucky charm, I've always thought as well. To get all that on there, it would need to be, like, I don't know,
let's go
at least twice the size. Anywho, we have this.
Man, and very good looking.
Who?
Captain Scarlet.
Yes, I suppose so. I didn't really notice.
Yes, Miss Nolan.
I've always... A lot of people, I think, have found that an odd moment. I've personally always chosen to believe that at that point Fraser isn't yet a Mysteron, because I kind of think Fraser wouldn't sort of start up that kind of conversation with Linda, although I think it was Special Assignment where a Mysteron agent looked at Scarlet and described him as the dark, good-looking one. Some have suggested that possibly Fraser is gay. That may be why he calls out, the fact that Scarlet is quite an attractive man. I'm sure it wasn't written that way, but it's certainly, I think, there if you want to infer it. But many years ago, I can't remember why, I was looking at the possibility of novelising some Captain Scarlet. And as I said there,
Fraser.
Yes, Miss Nolan.
I felt that Fraser wasn't a Mysteron in his first appearance.
Night S.E.T.
He is now, I think.
Some time to get clear.
Just something clues me into the fact that he might be a Mysteron at this point.
Fraser, are you all right?
Yes, I'm fine.
His
Your instructions will be carried out.
Vacant stare, blank monotone, and the dramatic music. Yeah, it's an oddly different performance from when we last saw him, and I always assumed that, well, if I'd novelised the episode as I, for some reason, had planned to at some point,
Out in an hour.
he would have seen off Scarlet and Blue and Green in the Moonmobile, and then as he turned to leave, he would have spotted someone out on the lunar surface, and he would have been looking around the windows, and he would have been encouraged into an airlock, which would have shut behind him, and then the door would have opened into the vacuum, and of course it's Captain Black working the airlock doors to kill him. Just a little insight into not a Lost Worlds of Anderson, but a Lost Worlds of Dale, I guess, there. Anywho, as the lunar tractor departs Lunarville 7, the sort of departure area was made up of bits and pieces from other episodes. There was the mini-sat housing from Shadow of Fear.
Captain Scarlet on the Interspace radio link, sir.
And one of the pressure domes from Avalanche.
Captain Scarlet?
Yes, Colonel. We're about to cross the lunar horizon. We will then be on the far side of the moon from Earth and we'll lose all radio contact.
I understand, Captain.
So I'm going to tell you I love you now.
When we arrive at the crater, we will immobilize the control vehicle and then enter the complex.
They're so sure of themselves. We can, as alien technology, we can immobilize it, no problem.
SIG, Captain. Report back as soon as the radio link is restored. Out.
What are their chances, sir?
They cannot be calculated.
Oh.
Men have faced the unknown before, but I believe no man has ever faced what awaits them in Crater 101.
Donald Gray's really good at the sort of prophetic, doom-laden pronouncement. And I think in that moment there, they really sold it, because there's an extreme zoom in on the Colonel's face, right up to his eyes, and then it just slowly goes out of focus.
It's just over this ridge.
SIG.
Also, again, Captain Magenta has been left in charge of the cloud-based communications console. Always nice to see him picking up a bit of extra work here and there. But they've arrived now. The Moonmobile has...
Stop the Moonmobile.
...hopped its way to the edge of Crater 101. Oh, the vehicles are still lined up for their little group photo, but now we're down on the ground. We're now down at street level. An odd shot.
Well, it answers one question. How to get in.
You mean we'll go in the same way?
Yes, Lieutenant. Let's get into the moon tractor.
Yes, they're talking about how they're going to get into the Mysteron complex, and there was a shot there of what I guess was meant to be one of the Mysteron vehicles entering the city through what could be a sort of force field, but it's really hard to see what that actually is meant to be. It looks like just a smear of Vaseline, and yeah, one of the few shots in this episode that I would say are not just unconvincing, but actually unclear. It's a very unhelpful shot in terms of establishing what's going on. Anywho, Scarlet and Blue and Green have got into the lunar tractor, but the Mysteron control vehicle is already after them.
Knock out that control vehicle.
And it's two radio-controlled henchmen are also on the
Lieutenant Green
on the case. And I do like the look of these vehicles. I know some people find them a bit silly. Oh, there's that sound effect again. The Spectrum rifle. That goes back to Torchy, that sound effect.
There's another. Swerve.
But yeah, I just love the fact that this looks so unlike anything else we've ever seen in the series. It does look like Mysteron tech.
The control vehicle.
There's so much dust.
The huge clawing arms on the top.
Fire.
You know, you can look at those and think, okay, that is a machine designed for work, for building work. But it also makes a credible threat, so they're nice vehicles, these. I also like the control vehicle. which just sort of zips about everywhere and doesn't really do much. Oh, but one of the grabby machines has pulled in front of the lunar tractor and created a trench that they've driven into. Also, I suppose we should mention the terminology of vehicles here. This is the lunar tractor, which has weapons, and Fraser is driving the lunar tank, which does not have weapons, and is bringing the bomb up. I've always felt that the terms were the wrong way round. This thing should be the tank, what with it being, armed.
It won't budge.
And the tank should have been the tractor, because it's doing the heavy lifting of the bomb. Anywho, that mistake notwithstanding,
You have one chance, Lieutenant. Don't miss.
we have what is probably Lieutenant Green's, if not greatest moment, then certainly most well-remembered moment here, where he single-handedly blows up the Mysteron control vehicle and saves them all from the evil robot thing.
Do I get a coconut?
If we ever get out of this, Lieutenant, I'll buy you all the coconuts you can eat.
There's a nice little bit of banter and humour there, I like that.
6 to lunar tank. What?
I doubt Scarlet kept his word when they got back to Earth, but you never know.
Right. Remember, set the detonator for 12 o'clock SET.
I am sorry, Earthwoman.
Oh.
The detonator is already set for 10.
Oh dear.
2 hours earlier than Spectrum think.
Fraser, listen to me, Fraser.
Captain Scarlet is below the lunar horizon.
He is indeed.
You cannot contact him. He will die in Crater 101.
So that's a very effective cliffhanger, and we come back to find...
Lieutenant Green's freed the lunar tractor. We're ready to go.
Yes, they sent Green out there all by himself with apparently no equipment to free the lunar tractor. It doesn't actually look like he's done anything, but Blue says he has.
Tell Lieutenant Green to get back in here.
SIG.
Here comes Fraser with the bomb.
I'm about to release the atomic device.
And everyone's using communicators that look like pens.
Good luck. Out. And goodbye, Earthmen.
Oh. I'm also wondering if this interior cockpit set of the lunar tractor that Fraser is in, it's so hard to keep these around the right way because as I know they're wrong. I think that might be the interior set of the Spectrum hovercraft from Traitor. Anywho, Fraser has deposited the bomb, and that, interestingly, is the last we see of him in this episode, as he just reverses out of the crater. Yeah, he's not mentioned again. Nobody thinks it's important to track him down. Again, going back to my idea for a novelization, I hate to keep going on about that, but I always felt that there should have been a point where Fraser reappeared just as Blue and Green were trying to escape the crater. Like, on their journey in the lunar tank back to the Moonmobile, Fraser appears and is trying to smash them, and ultimately they have to blow him up. It's just so strange that I don't know if he's forgotten. He just sort of, there's no real room in the story to deal with him. So he's presumably at liberty to tear around the moon.
Radio check. Captain Blue?
In a, if not armed vehicle, then quite a large vehicle to do a bit of damage, but never mind.
Go in.
Through the wall?
Through the wall.
We don't need to worry about Fraser because here we are in the Mysteron complex on the moon. And it's instantly just one of the most striking visuals
Indescribable.
Of any Anderson show.
Let's move on.
And what I find so incredible about this is the people making this had no reason to assume, other than the fact that it might be shown in America, they had no reason to assume that this would ever be shown in colour. At the very least, they had to assume that most of the people who saw this on first broadcast would be seeing it in black and white.
Situation negative.
You can level that about the entire show. You have an organisation filled with colour-coded officers in a series being shown in black and white. But this...
Where's Lieutenant Green?
This just kaleidoscope of...
Lieutenant Green!
Colours and lights and shadows. It's absolutely phenomenal stuff, and they did not need to go to all this trouble. They really didn't.
Over there.
And we are now reaping the rewards of the fact that they did, because in HD this looks incredible.
Lieutenant Green, what's wrong?
Those lights. They're hypnotic.
Yep, our Spectrum team has, they've already bungled the assignment, pretty much. They've entered the complex and been distracted by some lights. Green and blue are utterly out of it.
I mustn't look.
Oh, Scarlet, because he's so tough, he's going to pull out his space gun and do a bit of shooting at it. And it's interesting that that's a different model handgun to the usual Spectrum pistols. Looks quite good, actually. I'm not sure why that was never seen again.
All been transfixed.
I couldn't look away. I tried, but I just couldn't.
Let's move on and stay together.
I've also often wondered what it would be like to actually wear one of those Spectrum
Fraser is a
helmets.
Are you sure, Controller?
Because there's so much foam in there, it can't be comfortable. It could be quite warm, though.
Instead of 12.
What? Or isn't there some way we can warn Captain Scarlet?
No, he's out of radio range.
Oh, dear. So, luckily for Miss Nolan, she's lost her chap Fraser, but she still has Schroeder.
You're just in front of where you're standing.
Yes, this I think looks a bit strange with the correctly proportioned puppets.
Yeah.
Having them walk into this anti-gravity bit that makes them float up to the ceiling.
I found the
because they look like what they are, puppets on wires. I don't know. I mean, I obviously I can't think of any other way they would have done it unless they sort of lifted them in from below.
Look.
But
What is it?
There's only one way to find out.
We walk up to it very, very slowly. And even today, watching this episode, this does feel like a sort of landmark, almost event within the run of episodes of the show, because I think a lot of fans always wanted some kind of return to Mars and the Mysteron complex that we never got in the original series. But we have this return to the same kind of technology and environment that we saw in those first fleeting moments in the very first episode.
Remember the 12 o'clock deadline.
I would have to assume a lot of this is reused, or at least some of it.
The bomb explodes.
An unmanned rocket. Could it work?
Could do.
There's the slimmest chance, but it's the only one.
I also like this idea that they're not alone. There is another team of good guys in this episode who are involved with this project, not directly, but they're trying to help out our Spectrum heroes who don't know that the bomb has been set.
The rocket is ready on the launch
for 10 o'clock instead of the agreed 12, because those Mysterons reset the clock.
All we can do now is hope.
5, 4, 3,
2, 1, lift off.
Yep, Lunaville are launching their rocket. This is later going to be revealed, just in case I waffle over it. The same model of rocket that Linda Nolan mentioned having been aboard for the Neptune probe.
I'm going to try
a CB-29, which we're told is obsolete, so I don't know why they would have any hanging around, but hey-ho, I suppose if it still works, may as well get some use out of the tech. And while Scarlet is trying to remove the power source from the central table...
What was that?
The rocket arrives.
Oh, I'll go and find out.
Suspicious explosion sound in an alien complex. Oh, I'm sure it's fine. Go and investigate on your own. We've now got 15 minutes left.
Can you see anything, Captain Blue?
Yes, it's an unmanned space probe, an old CB-29.
Another lovely touch with this episode, and it was there in Lunaville 7 as well, is Barry Gray's music. Those just strange sounds and haunting noises do so much to suggest that this is an alien environment and
To Linda Nolan.
The Mysterons' music obviously is very hostile and harsh.
58.
But the moon atmosphere stuff is also lovely.
Schedule. Can you see a connection?
And our heroes are
ahead of schedule,
very slowly putting the pieces together.
Use 12 o'clock SET.
And this is a fun shot.
The bomb. It could mean the bomb will explode ahead of schedule. Captain Blue, Check the detonator timing on that atomic device.
Because I always think Captain Scarlet looks like he's bouncing up and down with excitement when he says, check the detonator timing on that atomic device. He's bouncing in time with the dialogue. It's very subtle, but once you've seen it, he almost looks like he needs to pee. I'm sorry for lowering the tone, but there's just something sort of almost like he's bouncing on the spot for some reason. Whoa.
Scarlet, the detonator's set for 10. Get out of there. The whole crater will go up in 5 minutes.
Get into the Moonmobile. I'll follow as soon as I can.
I'm coming back.
No, at least get the cameras to safety.
Captain Scarlet.
You know I'm right, Adam. Do as I say.
Spectrum is green.
Oh, he's always right. We all know that. I was looking at the spacesuits here, and I do like the designs of them, but I'm never quite sure about the helmets. It kind of looks like they're not fastened down. That you could just take them off at the neck, and to a certain extent I don't see how they afford much protection. But anywho, Blue and Green have returned to the Moonmobile.
2 minutes to detonation.
In the lunar tractor. They've made good time. Loaded the thing back aboard, which is interesting because it must be very small to fit in the Moonmobile. But Scarlet has got the Mysteron power source with 56 seconds to go. He's now got to race out of there. I always wonder with this as well, how they get down the anti-gravity bit.
Here. Any sign of...
when they're leaving. Is it that there's just no gravity there, or is there something sort of propelling them up, keeping them in that room? Because if that was the case, they would have been in serious trouble. But I guess it must just be no gravity, they got out easily, and just in time, because kablooey! Now, this beautiful Mysteron complex model goes up in flames. And there's a lovely shot of Blue and Green watching from the...
make it.
From the edge of the crater.
Didn't make it.
Look.
He made it.
What a guy.
And very good looking.
Yes, he made it. Of course he made it. And, he's got the Mysteron power source, which we know from the episode Dangerous Rendezvous will lead into a thrilling and satisfying conclusion to the Lunarville trilogy, and we'll say no more about that.
Reconnaissance shows it was a complete success.
We blew up everything.
It means that the Mysteron powers of reconstruction are somehow connected with this power source.
Or that's what they want you to think.
Well, I'm afraid it's goodbye.
Oh.
Thank you for everything.
Goodbye, Captain Scarlet.
And a subtle touch here. She's taken off her glasses.
I'd take it as a favor if you'd keep it.
Thank you. Let's go, Adam.
She loves him. Oh, all the girls love him.
And so good looking.
I suppose so. I didn't think you'd notice.
Being as stuck up and frigid as you are, old girl, I didn't think you'd notice. Well, there we go. That was the end of Linda Nolan and her relationship with Captain Scarlet, and that was Crater 101, which I hope I've given the impression that I thoroughly enjoyed that one, because I absolutely do. Directed by Ken Turner. Some good stuff here. Good stuff all round. As I said, I think this is one of the sort of landmark episodes of the series, not just in terms of the story with the return to the Mysteron complex, even though it's not the same one we saw in the first episode. I think that's something that viewers at the time, and even watching this in subsequent decades and generations, must have been clamoring for. But more than that, just the way the story is told, and the visual elements of this one. The visuals in this are, I don't know if it's because they're so unusual to the series, but I think it's just they're so unusual and strange and genuinely terrific all round. It's so strange to think that this is, so many of the Anderson shows, they put so much into these, and this is a possibly the definitive example of an episode where they put so much in that at the time they would have had no idea could have been appreciated to the extent that we now can in HD. This was shown again in black and white on first broadcast. It's incredible. And that's probably the word that best describes this episode all round. It's absolutely incredible. Really good stuff.
Boom, woo, bum,
lovely.
Bum. Lovely.
There we go. Yeah, great.
Sorry, I couldn't help myself. It's just
love a bit of that.
Yeah, it's just some of them are such catchy Barry Gray themes. You just have to try and sing a bit of it.
That's the point. That's his job done, isn't it? That's the whole point.
Well, Chris is.
No, Barry Gray.
Yes,
that's right.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you very much, Chris. Chris will be back with something else. Could be more Scarlet, could be not, could be anything. Who knows? In fact, as we've discovered in previous weeks, it could literally be anything.
Yeah, I know. Imagine if next week, for example...
Yeah.
No, it's all right. I was about to say, maybe he did start that list and started with an episode of Coronation Street.
Well, it would be random anyway, wouldn't it? Probably. So, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, maybe he'll be doing episode 34 of the Generation game.
Now that I'd like to see.
Yeah? Would that be Larry Grayson?
34? No, that would be early days still, wouldn't it? That would still be Brucey, I would think.
Well, I thought Larry Grayson was before Brucey on Generation
No, Brucey
game.
started, then Larry.
And then Bruce came back.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
There you go, you live and learn. Every day's a school day.
This is like Archive Telly 101, isn't it?
Should I say, every day's a school day?
Oh, I didn't know you could crack out a Brucey.
Beg your pardon. Keep it to yourself.
Oh, dear. Right, anyway, let's move on towards the end of this podcast before we get ourselves in trouble. Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, that's all for now. Thank you very much. Nice to see you. Nice.
I wonder how many people across the country just shouted nice at that moment.
About 3.
None.
Yeah. And you're one of them?
Yeah, and you're the other one. Good, and Chris was the other one of your match. Right, okay, that's the end of it. Bloody hell.
I think so. Yeah, come on.
GerryAnderson.com is the site. Podcast at GerryAnderson.com is the email address. Please do leave us a rating. A few more of you have done it, and we're very, very grateful. Some lovely ones have come through. We might even read them next week. But for now, we'll say goodbye. We'll see you in pod 249.
Yes, crikey, imagine that.
So many. Next week. Thank you for listening, Podsterons. Now go and dry your ears.
And remember, keep dancing!
Stage 1 complete.
Let's go.
Spectrum is green.
Why have you never shown me your Brucey before?
You've never asked, Joe.
Well, I don't. But this is the Rumsfeld doctrine. I don't know the things I don't know. If you don't give me a list of the impressions you can do, then I won't know to ask. I say, who else can you do?
Oh, well, I'm not going to tell you. You'll have to find out as we go on.
Oh, come on.
We've got another, well, 248 was that podcast? Yeah. Well, in 248 podcasts, I've given a bit of Brucey. I've given a Terry Wogan, of course.
Yeah.
But Patrick Stewart went down quite well. But Trevor McDonald was a bit of a left-wing one, wasn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't expecting that one.
Yeah. So maybe the next 249, you might get a few more surprises.
Well, I can't wait. I mean, yeah.
Could be anybody.
Barbara Windsor? It's like she was in the room. Oh, lovely stuff. Well, I can't wait for more. And
yeah. I can do Bernard Bresslaw. Yeah, Sid. Yeah. There you go. They're all here with us.
You're wasted on this podcast.
Well, I've been telling you that for years.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Okay, I better not say anything else. You might leave. Right. Thank you, Bernard, Sid, Barbara, and Brucey.
Etc.
And Richard.
Yes.
And see you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
You have been listening to the Gerry Anderson Podcast. Wasn't it fun?
You have been listening to an Anderson Entertainment production.